Hey, welcome back to the Writer's Workshop video series from the Tennessee Division of Adult Education. This is the third of our three-part series about the HiSET essay. In the first two videos, we talked about what kind of essay you're going to encounter on the actual HiSET exam. And we looked at some examples of some different essays from the actual HiSET website. And then in the second video, we talked about how you can effectively organize your argument into a T-chart or a roadmap, if you will, in order to set you up for success when you begin to actually write your essay. So in this video, we're going to take the roadmap that we created and we're going to actually use it to write an actual essay. So let's look back at this map that we created before, which shows a couple bullet points that we took directly from the text that was supporting your argument and the text that was against your argument. We used some personal experiences here that we have with the subject, and we used our own view as well. And remember, this subject is about whether or not students should be allowed to listen to music while they're studying in the library at our state university. So one last thing before we actually start writing this essay is we want to look back at the directions one more time and make sure that we are doing everything that they're asking us to do. We've got our own position here. We've got some evidence from the text passages that we'll pull in later. We've got an example from our own experience, and we've acknowledged alternate or opposing ideas here as well. So now that we have all of this stuff ready to go, we can actually begin to write our essay. So the very first thing we need to do is write some sort of an introduction, which will outline our own views on the subject. And what I'll do is actually just use this one sentence and put it up there. So we start by saying, music affects different kinds of people in different ways. For some, music can be a distraction that leads to procrastination or sloppy work. For others, music may be a tool that allows them to stay focused on the task at hand. As long as the music is kept at a very low volume, the library at our state university should continue to allow students to use music to help them study. So notice how I took my own view here and just plugged it in right there. At this point, I've explained my own position, so the reader knows exactly what I think about this topic. The next thing we want to do is put a body paragraph or two in there that uses evidence from the text passage to really support our argument and uses examples from our own experience, again, to just make our argument a little bit stronger. And lastly, we want to acknowledge other opposing ideas, again, just so we can make our own argument a little bit stronger. So we'll begin by saying, one study from 2011 claimed that fast and loud music interferes with learning. However, the same study claims that listening to music is much better than other loud background noises when studying. Additionally, there are many students who work one or two jobs while they are also in school. For these students, it may be hard to find the energy to study for exams after working a long shift. They may need to listen to fast, energizing music just to stay awake and keep studying. If music was banned in the library, you might see many more students sleeping in their textbooks. So in this case, notice that I've used the evidence from the text passages here. And I actually cited the same exact study that the student and the professor had cited here before to strengthen my own argument. And then all I've really done is reword what they said in the other text passages and kind of put those arguments into my own words in order to strengthen my argument. So lastly, all I really need to do is put some examples from my own experience to really strengthen my argument. So we'll say this. Instead of a ban on listening to music in the library, it would be more reasonable to enforce a rule that kept the volume of each student's music to a minimum. The library in my neighborhood has quiet reading rooms for people who get easily distracted. Perhaps the library at our state university could establish a quiet zone and a music zone, and allow students to choose where they would like to study. So in this case, I've really just taken my own personal experience and plugged it in here, and then I used that to support or strengthen my argument. So the very last thing that we need to do in order to finish up with our essay is just have one last conclusion paragraph in here, which really just sums up everything that we just said and kind of puts a bow on it so the readers know that we're done with our essay. So we'll say this. Even though some people may be easily distracted by music, it would not be a good idea to ban music for all students in the library. Instead, a solution should be found that allows some students to listen to music and not distract those who prefer silence. Therefore, the Faculty Senate at our state university should work together to find a better solution to this problem. Great. So now we have an essay here where we have done everything in the directions. We've explained our own position. We've acknowledged the alternate idea and used evidence from the text and used personal experiences to really strengthen and have a solid argument here. So the last thing that we need to do, we got about 5 minutes to really read through this one more time, because there will inevitably be mistakes that you've made in spelling, subject-verb agreement, maybe you used the wrong form of the word, which I tend to do a lot, or a comma. You might need to place a comma there, and you'll want to correct all those little mistakes that you've made. And lastly, you might see a sentence that just kind of reads really weird whenever you read through it, like this one, where it says, additionally, there are many students who work 1 or 2 jobs while they are also in school. I'm going to change that to just make it say there are also many students who work 1 or 2 jobs while attending school. It's a little bit easier of a read. So now that we have made all of those corrections, we have a good solid argument that will be scored again on a scale of 1 to 6. I'm hoping that this argument will score around a score of a 4. But again, all you really need to score is a 2 in order to pass this exam. So we've looked at some example passages. We have talked about exactly what kind of essay that you need to write in order to pass the HiSET exam. We've talked about how that essay is scored and talked about how you need to organize your argument before you actually start writing. Then we wrote our essay and edited it at the very end. So once you've done all those things, you will undoubtedly write an effective essay which will pass the HiSET exam.